Imagine you're playing chess. You know, you're analyzing the board, staring at the pieces, and just trying to find that one perfect logical move to win the game. But then you realize your opponent isn't playing chess at all. I mean, they're casually changing the rules or like maybe even eating the pieces.
Right, and you're sitting there still trying to play logically. It's an entirely unwinnable situation. I mean, we like to think logic prevails, but in toxic dynamics, well, the rules just don't apply.
Exactly. And that is why for today's deep dive, we are looking at a highly tactical source text by Ori Karim. It's all about breaking free from toxic cycles, narcissists, and broken systems. We're going to unpack this material to give you, the listener, a practical blueprint to stop losing unwinnable arguments.
And really start reclaiming your reality. Because that escape, it starts with abandoning what Karim calls the last word. We get trapped in these endless loops, believing that whoever speaks last or loudest wins the narrative.
Right, but in a broken system, the last word is just a complete mirage.
It's a total mirage. Because if you actually manage to get it, they simply reinvent the dictionary to make your words mean something else anyway. True power is silence. It's essentially folding the board and leaving the room.
Leaving the room is so hard, though. But if engaging just feeds the machine, yeah, the immediate triage has to be silence. And Karim introduces this concept of an emotional audit, which completely shifts the paradigm of documentation.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, most people view documentation as like gathering ammunition for a future argument.
Exactly. But he says if your logs show a pattern of, say, 90% chaos and 10% good times, that's a terrible financial portfolio. I mean, you cannot manage what you do not measure. You have to look at the actual ROI, the return on investment of the relationship.
Yeah, documentation shouldn't be a weapon. It's divestment. Every time you write down a factual account, you pull an emotional investment out of that toxic person and put it into a trust for yourself.
Wow.
Once you make that cost visible on paper, staying just becomes way too expensive for your soul.
Too expensive for your soul. I love that. But okay, once you divest and you stop seeking their validation, a massive empty space opens up in your life.
And that space force is what Karim calls the reconstruction phase.
Yeah.
You have to transition from being a victim of a narrative to the author of a history. And he uses 3 pillars for this. First is objective reality, the black and white.
So instead of arguing about why they lashed out, you just anchor to the fact that they did lash out.
Right, exactly. Then the second pillar is internal authority, the earth tones. You don't need them to agree that it hurt. The fact that it hurt is your reality. And finally, future autonomy.
Setting the horizon right, deciding who gets an invitation to your future. But wait, I have to ask, if truth isn't some hidden treasure we have to beg these systems to reveal, where do we actually find it in this empty space? Because if you've been gaslit for years, your internal authority is shattered.
That's such a crucial point. When you're standing in that void, Karim actually points to ancient wisdom. He looks at translations of biblical texts like the Message or the Common English Bible, which focus on this really raw directness. The realization is that truth isn't something you dig up. Truth is simply the ground you are standing on right now.
The ground you're standing on. So it fundamentally changes how you view their attempts to make you feel crazy or guilty. I mean, shame is really just a gift from someone who didn't want to carry their own.
Exactly. You don't ask to give the shame back. You just let it hit the floor and walk away.
So narcissists won't confess and enablers won't witness. But for you, self-validation provides a foundation and documentation gives you a map. Like Karim writes, documentation is the antidote to gaslighting, and self-validation is the cure for the soul.
Yeah, you are building your own house now.
To wrap up, consider this. The text reveals that shame is just an unwanted gift you must drop. So, what happens to a toxic person's entire reality when they look down and realize the shame they tried so desperately to hand off to you is just sitting on the floor, completely unclaimed?